Juda Ken la Dane, Juda Ken Sam la Dane Juan. That you
So when we try to understand this fundamental Buddhist philosophical principle of pratitha samuppada, dependent origination, the understanding of this principle that is common to all Buddhist schools is in terms of causal dependence. Pratit means to depend on, and samupada refers to origination. And the understanding that is common to all the Buddhist schools of thought is to look at this principle in terms of the causal dependence, to appreciate and to understand that all things and events come into being only as a result of interaction of causes and various causes and conditions.
That the implication has lavina. Dushin chebe chudi tamjalo jumebal chumaris. Any chebabu loyo mondosana cheba maris. Do the gain some the dane any jumari is that the shigori.
The significance of making this statement that all conditioned things come into being purely as a result of causes and conditions is to deny two possibilities. One is the possibility that they can come into being from nowhere with no causes and conditions, causelessly. So that is one possibility that is being negated. And the second possibility that is being negated is that perhaps these things can come into being as a result of a transcendent sort of designer or a creator.
That tenjung thanda nibat jikti sukjengi chejibina ane chaji che aso chaji chajen sta ane suk mabe jimina ji shebato ni jimina ni gejin meji ane chad jeden dinde chene do ane chakada kaina ane chad jebres dinde induzane
However, there is another dimension to this, to the understanding of this principle. That is to say, to understand principle of dependent origination in terms of parts and whole, the concept of parts and whole, how all physical objects, material objects, can be understood in terms of how parts compose a whole, and how the very idea of, very concept of wholeness depends upon the existence of parts. So there is that dependence in the physical world. And similarly, in the case of non-physical entities like consciousness, then you can look at these entities in terms of their temporal sequences, how unity, the very idea of unity and wholeness is dependent upon successive sequences that compose a continuum or a wholeness. So when you look at the reality or universe in these terms, then not only can you understand all conditioned things as dependently originated, but also the entire phenomena could be understood in terms of this principle of dependent origination.
Dadene sumbachiglia any chakata kaine Dr. Jana Nangzam team was about Dr. Jana near your maris. On your Maris Luna, never maris. On a Caris Luna, any software, Kiazo, you gain tended software one gate and two demonstration. Oh, you gain tended that software, Dane, and that's some says as you shake your day. That Denjung what I should.
And then there is a further dimension to the meaning of this principle of dependent origination, which is to say that all things and events, in fact everything, comes into being purely as a result of mere aggregation of the many factors. And whereas when you analyze
other factors,
there is an understanding that it is simply in dependence upon others that they came into being, that they lack any independent or intrinsic identity or intrinsic existence. There is no autonomous existence or identity to anything. And the identity and existence that we perceive of things are in some sense contingent, which comes into being as a result of an interaction between our perception and the existence of the reality itself. However, this is not to say that things do not exist, but they do exist. But what is the case is that they do not exist with independent or autonomous realities.
That dangerous idea, near Kwaji, according to this chain. That did dangerous return, Tona, Church Hungary, said, Church Conditions was no. That Church Mangu Shaman or something, Mangu Juman or something. Do you some of Daniel? Do you some of Daniel? Chue, Denju Tona? Any Didu, Daka Didu, Penny Yuding, any Penny Yuding a dear, do you get any Yud of Shani? Any Dunge, that got a Didu, Didu Yongayagi, that Tashi Chiatalia, Didu, the Dungamayaya, that Dawayagi, Tashi Chiati, any Dujan Dan, Drokoyagi, Dindegi, that legend dig church to her, of a legend dig church, tell them to us to her.
So, corresponding to these three different sort of dimensions or three different levels of meaning of the principle of dependent origination, one can also read three different meanings into this concept of dharma, because referring back to the statement again, to say that seeing perception of seeing dependent origination leads to the seeing of the dharma. So here, if we were to relate to the first level of meaning of dependent origination, which is in terms of causal dependence, by developing a deep understanding of interdependent nature of reality in terms of causal dependence, then one will be able to appreciate the workings of the karma, the karmic law, how experiences of pain and suffering comes into being as a result of negative actions and negative thoughts and behavior. Similarly, how sort of desirable experiences such as happiness and joy come into being as a result of causes and conditions that are that corresponds to that, such as positive actions and positive emotions and thoughts. So, by understanding the principle of dependent origination in causal terms, one will be able to develop a deep understanding of the law of karma.
다가는 신기 다 유진 잡는 때네 중에 땡중기 내로 직 통일도 전에 왔다 가서 우리 신앙 공부 다시 지단하는 거부터 탐자로 안다 유진 잡기 교월 때네 아니 교월 나서 요구해 돼 봐. 다디 지 causality 쉐입으로 왔다. law of causality. 다지 이네 가서 우리 규된 제비 땡지기 남샤 데이터네 제다 민주베 동네들아 대베 디기디 다 준제기 팀 대원에다 그러든지 세브차.
So once you develop a deep understanding of the principle of dependent origination in terms of causal dependence, what it does is it gives you a fundamental insight into the nature of reality, that everything that we perceive and that we experience come into being as a result of interaction, aggregation of causes and conditions. And you develop a fundamental perspective towards your own inner experiences and also towards the world at large, to see everything in terms of this causal principle. And once you have developed that kind of philosophical outlook, then you will be also able to locate or situate your understanding of karma within that principle, because the operation of the karmic